All right, today's project is to take this basic dressing room in a 4-horse slant load trailer and turn it into something more comfortable to sleep in by putting in a radiant barrier, some paneling, and a ceiling so that when we're at horse shows and it's 100 degrees outside, hopefully it's 80 degrees inside. So the first thing we're going to do is also run some 110 outlets we can plug into horse shows and facilities. So we've pre-drilled a couple of holes here and here with self-tapping screws, which is right there. And then we've also got metal boxes to do that. And so what we're going to do is put in the box here on the side, mount that in, run wiring, and we're going to put just a 110 3-prong outlet plug on the outside so we'd be able to plug into shore power. And then inside, the only thing we're going to operate in here is a mini fridge and a microwave and one light, so that when the kids are in here sleeping at the horse show, they have access to at least some cold drinks and a warm breakfast. All right, and our first outlet is in. You can see we use a self-tapping screws here and here to hold the box so it's sturdy. We're putting one box up high at the same level as where the mattress is going to go so that we can plug in cell phones and charge. The other outlet is going to go down here in the bottom of the step because the refrigerator and microwave are going to sit here. We're only going to be doing 2 outlets to discourage people from plugging in too many things, because again, we're only connecting to a 110 shore power, and the breaker on the 110 shore power is what we're going to be relying on. So we don't want to overload it and keep flipping a breaker switch, so we have to go outside to reset. So that's the plan for the electrical boxes. And again, secured. They stick out just a little bit, as you can see here, so that when we put the radiant barrier in, the 1/4-inch furring strips to go across here and the paneling, then this should sit flush with a face cover plate. All right, now our second outlet for the refrigerator and the microwave is going to go down here. That's about 24 inches off the floor setting. The other thing, just as a quick reminder, punch out these back holes. This is a metal box, so it has the clamps inside there to hold your wires in, and it's a lot easier to do these knockouts before you mount to the inside. So you've got some room to get your screwdriver in there and just pop those out, and then we'll feed the wire in and tighten it all up. So, and again, pre-drilled that. And when I say pre-drilled, we just used the self-tapping screws to go ahead and drill through those holes. So I didn't need a drill bit or anything like that. It's aluminum. That's really easy to get in, but you definitely want to fasten these so that they stay tight to the trailer. There'll be vibrations, and of course you don't want to be pulling your paneling off the wall every time you plug something in or out. All right, so while we're putting this outlet in, again, this is the one that's on the lower side. I just wanted to show you, like, drilling through here. These are just aluminum support studs. This is the self-tapping screw. Just goes through that, and again, it's still out of the way. This will all get covered by the vapor barrier, some 1/4-inch thick furring strips, and then the paneling. And again, we're not trying to make it winterized. We are simply trying to lower the temperature in here so that it's a little bit cooler, more pleasant to sleep in here. And it's, I'm doing this in Colorado. It's about 11:30 in the morning. And just to give you an idea of how hot it is already, this is the thermostat. You can see it's already 90 degrees in here before we do anything. So what I'll do is at the end of this, when it's all done, we'll take the temperature again and just see how effective the radiant heat was in the paneling and stuff. But again, 90 degrees, not a great way to sleep in here, and it's still only 11:30 in the morning. It's not even the end of the day when the heat, and we're trying to actually get ready to go to sleep. So that's part of our project, what our goals are for this. Okay, so we have the electrical roughed in. We're using 12-2 wiring. Down here is where we're going to have the shore power plug. That's on back order, so hoping that'll be next week. So we're just going to drill a pilot hole for that to mark it so we know we're on the outside, and we can keep moving forward with putting our radiant barrier in. So the power will come in there. It'll go up to the second outlet. We're only doing 2 outlets in here, again, because we don't want people to over tap it. Essentially what we're doing is installing a permanent extension cord into this trailer. So it comes up here across the ceiling, and you can see it's just temporarily tacked in there until we get the furring strips in and things like that. It comes down to this light switch. We put the light switch here so that if you were in bed over here sleeping, you would be able to just lean forward and flip that switch off. The reason we put the outlet over here was so that if you wanted to charge a phone and you were in bed, you could simply plug it in and set it aside for an alarm clock or whatever. So anyway, coming back here, there's our switch. It comes up, runs through here. These lights are our battery lights that only run when the trailer is hooked up to the truck. We'll probably try to add an extra battery, so if we didn't have shore power, we'd at least be able to flip on some inside lights there. But it comes across and it's temporarily tacked in there until we get the furring strips and to tack it. There's not a whole lot to screw to on the ceiling, so we did use the self-tapping screws, and we tapped into this post right here to help hold that. But we're going to use some furring strips up there as well and help support the weight of the light. We put the light 24 inches off to the side because on this wall is going to be a refrigerator and a microwave, and it's less likely that someone's going to bump a light 24 inches off because of the countertop that's going to be coming out of here. And again, this is still an active tack room. Kids coming in and out with saddles. We didn't want to accidentally have a light break. So what we're going to do next is measure the ceiling. We've got 4-foot wide strips of radiant barrier insulation. It's not really insulation. All it does is reflect the heat back out, which in theory should make this temperature inside the cabin about 20 degrees cooler than it is currently. The ceiling is quite hot at the moment. You don't want to bump into that. So we're going to put that up, and we're going to put the furring strips on next. The top will get covered with a like a naga hide, fake leather, in order to make that look nice, and we'll do paneling on the sides and stuff. So, all right, we're back here after we get Before we start the radiant heat, I just wanted to point out, here's the electrical switch, and again, because we had to drill through aluminum, I think you can see that what we did was fill each of those holes around the wire with silicone caulk. That's so if they vibrate, it doesn't wear all the protective sheathing off of that electrical thing and then shock someone. So I highly recommend that you either wrap that with a rubber grommet or fill it with some kind of caulk that's not going to be heat sensitive and melt over time. So we just used a basic water seal window caulk to fill those holes, just silicone. Okay, so our outlet plug is finally arrived in order to put the power in. So you'll see this is what it is. Ordered at Home Depot online, and it just goes right through the wall. So where our wires come out here, we're going to drill a pilot hole right about there, so that we can then drill with the hole saw on the other side coming through to have a more finished end. And you see this has a little rubber gasket to seal it, make it weatherproof. This will then wire into our outlets so that we would be able to plug an extension cord into this side for shore power on the other side. And you can see we started doing the radiant barrier up here, so I just have that pulled up out of the way in order to work and put the holes through. Okay, so we drilled our pilot hole on the inside so we'd know where to do our hole saw on the outside. As you can see, it all looks like a big white panel, no idea where really the supports are. I mean, you can certainly look at these rivets and find it, but because we did the pilot hole on the outside, you can see right here is where we want to use our hole saw. So it's just a standard hole saw. You get it at Home Depot, and we're just going to drill a hole through that, and it's 2 1/8 inch wide, so that it'll fit that plug, and then that'll just slip right in and get screwed in. All right, and there you can see the hole drilled through the side. If you look in there, you can see the carpet on the other side, the inside part, and that's as thick as what the aluminum siding is on these trailers. It is really thin. It took maybe 20 seconds to drill through that. So piece of cake, really easy to do. Okay, so with our pilot hole drilled and our hole saw drilled, what we've now done is pulled the wires to the outside of the trailer, and the plug outlet comes with a little rubber gasket kind of thing that goes over the outside to cover the wires, which are right here. And so just so everybody knows, the green is your ground, the silver is your white, and then this other one, the darker screw, is your power. If you don't know that, it does say that on the directions. And so what we're doing is on the outside, putting everything together, and then we're going to slide it back in. And I drilled one hole up here because this has holes on there to drill through to secure it to the metal. And then I'm also going to put a brace, like a 1x2 on the back side of this for some rigidity, because people are going to be pushing on this and pulling on it to connect to that plug, and just want to make sure everything stays really safe. And while this has a rubber seal here to protect you from shocking against these screws on the outside, and then also has a rubber gasket here to seal it for weather, on the inside of this we're also going to put silicone caulk around that, just to make sure that stays really solid and is screwed in well so that it'll never leak. Because again, on the other side of this is going to be our paneling, and we don't want to have to pull that apart to deal with water issues at some point. Okay, this part's probably not needed, but because we're on a trailer and there's going to be a lot of vibrations, this rubber cup fits pretty snugly over the plastic here, but I went ahead and put electrical tape on that just to make sure it doesn't vibrate off. I also only pulled back the yellow protective sheathing enough to give me room to get the wires in and screw them into the connector, but then I also sealed this back hole with electrical tape. And you do want to do all this inside. Make sure you put this black plastic, or rubber cup rather, over top of the wires before you connect it. It has to go on first, and then they all slide together. And then this will slide through the hole. And we want to pivot it so that the cap is at the top, not at the side. The only reason I do that is I think it's less likely to fall out. So put that screw in, then we'll go on the other side, and we'll put the silicone around it and put the last screw in order to hold that solid to the metal here and it doesn't pull out. All right, so there's the finished product, and you can see there's a little rubber gasket around here that seals it all in. Now, frankly, I don't really trust those, so I went ahead and put a thin bead of silicone on the outside of this, wiped it all down so that it's not there. You can see how dirty the trailer is. But anyway, I put that on there because, again, this is going to get some tension on it with pulling and plugging. So that's in there. Then this just goes over here and seals it. And I'm going to leave it out until the silicone is totally dry. I just wanted to show you how that works. But that just pulls up and that keeps it totally dry here. And so, yeah, so it's totally weather protected. Looks like a professional job. We'll wash all this up when we're totally done with it. We hauled some horses this weekend and it's a little dirty. So, all right, I'm going to take you around and show you the inside then and how we brace that up with some wood to give it a little bit stiffer look to it. All right, so here's the inside, and you can see where we put this board here, and so the bottom screw of the plug actually connects with this board, and it's just temporarily held in place. I've got a lot of silicone around the inside, so it's all the way up against it. When that dries, it'll be nice and hard. You can see here these wires actually stick out beyond the edge here. But again, we've got to put some extra bracing on here. So one of the things that we're going to do, just to make sure this is really secure, we're going to just leave it with the silicone and tape to it. But we're going to put a spacer board just like that, and it'll be screwed to it. And then we'll be able to bend this wire and give some flexibility. Remember, this is all just hollow rubber here, and so we'll have a little bit of room to move that around a little bit. But we don't want to do it till the silicone dries. So we're going to wait on that, and we'll finish working on some of the radiant stuff. As you can see up in here, we've still got panels to do. So we're going to do that. That'll probably take me about 15-20 minutes to do the nose of the trailer around over there. And then we'll come back and we'll manipulate this wire and make sure everything is in good shape. So the silicone is totally dry, because again, we don't want any leaks. And again, that will be the end of the wiring, with the exception of putting a light in there. You can see where we braced that for the light support, so there's some strength up there with the furring strips, and so we'll be able to hang a light. And then we'll just, once we get the paneling in, we attach everything. The light will go in after the vinyl goes across the ceiling to make that finished look. But probably another half hour. By that time, the silicone should be dry. We'll manipulate the wire. We'll put another furring strip across there and make sure we've got enough clearance for the paneling. That won't be a problem. And again, right here is where the refrigerator is going to sit. So it'll be that outlet you can see there. That'll be hidden. The refrigerator sits here in a microwave and a little countertop. All right, just wanted to show you what we did here to lock that in place. Remember, there was the board there that was the outlet receivers is actually screwed to give some stiffness to the metal as people pull in and out of that. Then I had some extra paneling furring strips left over, so I went ahead and put that below and above where the back side of that receptacle is, so that it is anchored to that little board that stiffens the wood, as well as screwed into the frame, so that provides a lot of stiffness to it. And of course over there so the paneling will be really stiff right around that, because remember, we've got an outlet right on the other side of that. And then you see where that's the little black spot there. That's the rubber for the back of the plug. And folks, don't just leave it like that. That's really close to where the paneling is going to be. And even though we said a refrigerator is going to be here, someday we might sell this trailer, somebody else might not know it's there. So we'll put a metal plate over top of that before we go through and hang the paneling. That way, if someday somebody pulls the refrigerator out and wants to stick something else there, they don't accidentally stick a screw into the back of that electrical outlet and shock themselves. So I just wanted to show you that before we wrap up with some of the installation, which we'll show you in a little bit.